My Little Avengers by Koolerkid, Chapter 10. So this is all for us? Big Macintosh asked in awe. Luna chuckled as she led him through the entrance hall of the mansion. This monster belonged to Prince Bluebar's family, I believe. He donated to the cause. He has already begun outfitting it with a variety of equipment, the function of which I can only begin to guess at. His new gift of invention is truly an astounding thing. No kidding, Big Mac replied, thinking of the report he read on the capabilities of the Iron Pony armor. You're sure about having him on the team, though? I heard some pretty nasty stuff about that one. My sister assures me he has changed, Luna said, though her tone betrayed some doubts. The conference room rapped the staff on the ground. Let us meet the time, spoke Thor, once his transformation completed. As you wish, Luna said, leading the way up the flight of stairs down a long hallway. As they walked, Big Mac reflected on the information he had been given about his team. First there was Spitfire. No, Firebird. He had to get used to these code names. He was a bit concerned about her. Able Fire, he knew that. He'd seen himself firsthand, but he wasn't sure if she was up to being a member of a team like this. Last battle she was in, totally lost control and nearly injured herself. What if it happened again? Not to mention, she was accustomed to being in charge. How well would she take orders? Then there was Blue Blood, a.k.a. Iron Pony. He told the princess he was wary of the prince. Luna had very little to say about him, and Mac still remembered the stories his sister told him of that spoiled jerk's behavior at the gala. Mac wasn't especially close to Rarity, but a high-class filly like her deserved better treatment. And again, Princess Celestia had recommended him personally, though the same princess had also replaced his toothpaste with hot sauce, so her assessment was rather suspect. Finally, and most worryingly, Caramel, now Captain Equestria. Caramel was the only member of the team Mac knew personally. While they weren't close friends, they were certainly on good terms. Big Mac had given the colt advice from time to time, imparting whatever wisdom he had to offer, and he knew that the younger pony was a good-hearted but bumbling young colt. Now, the files told him Caramel was a soldier, or near enough, or some kind of super pony. The idea of it made Big Mac nervous, especially considering, well, calling Caramel a failure would be unkind, but he certainly wasn't the most able of ponies. Still, if nothing else, he was a hard worker, with a good heart, strong earth ethic, and a team player. The team might be good for him. As they approached a set of double doors that led to what Big Mac assumed was the conference room, they could hear the sounds of raised voices. The pair of alicorns stared a concerned look as the argument grew more and more heated. Shouting could still be heard. Without needing to speak, they both hurried to the conference room before things could get out of huff. Spitfire arrived at the mansion nearly an hour early, hoping to get a chance to talk to Big Mac before the meeting started. She'd been such a wreck since the last time they talked. She never had a chance to thank them properly. Their little chat had done more to help her recover from her magical overexertion than any amount of magic, medicine, mana potions, or treatment could have, and she hoped to get a chance to tell him so. She glided into a landing into the mansion's courtyard, giving a low whistle as she looked up at the massive structure. It was probably the biggest, most impressive building she had ever seen that wasn't made out of clouds. She doubted the royal treasury could afford this kind of luxury, even for such a special team. Whoever was funding them had some serious cash. The impression of wealth was strengthened when Spitfire was greeted at the door by an Earth Pony butler, who bowed deeply, called her Lady Spitfire, which she found rather hilarious, and escorted her to the conference room. Remember, folks, back in the old days, back before the Marvel Cinematic Universe came into being, Starfist wasn't human. He actually had flesh and blood. This has been your comic book history you don't know about but need to in order to understand this. Thank you. As she needed the too formal to be real butler informed her she only needed to ring the bell sitting on the end table to call servant. With that, the butler left, leaving Spitfire all alone. She was regretting coming early now. Nobody else was here yet, including Big Mac, and she was bored. Pegasi weren't made to sit and still and wait, especially not stunt fighters like her. Patience was not the easiest thing in the world. She paced around the room a few times, sat down on a cushion. She got back up and paced some more. She rang the bell and asked for a snack. Received some of those fancy pastries she saw at those formal parties she hated. Finally, she heard the door open and looked up excitedly. Finally, some pony to talk to! It wasn't Big Mac as she had hoped, but another pony nearly as big. That alone was noteworthy. You get mono ponies that size, not even earth ponies like this one. He had a cream-colored coat and a light brown mane, and 3 bright blue horseshoes for a cutie mark. Ugh! Hello? The stallion said nervously. It was actually kind of cute, Spitfire thought to himself. She didn't normally have much patience for shy coats, but this one excluded a sense of power and strength, a sort of raw presence. The fact that he appeared completely unaware of it just seemed to enhance the effect. I'm sorry to bother you, he continued, giving an uneasy smile, but is this the conference room? I was told I'd meet the rest of the team here, but I'm a bit early, so... Spitfire glided over to him a second and a half. Yep, you came to the right place. I'm Spitfire from the Wonderbolts. You may have heard of me? She said, giving her the best poster smile. Only, I'm supposed to go by Firebird around here. I guess I'm your new teammate. Oh! The stallion said, smiling brightly. Very meet you, Miss Spitfire, he said, shaking her hoof. She could feel the strength in his hoof, though he was very gentle. He took the opportunity to examine him more closely. His muscle tone was better than most athletes, but he had the hard, rough hooves of a farmer, or something similar. Maybe he was a mutant? My name is Caramel. Captain Caramel, that is. My code name, Captain Equestria. This Spitfire's fine, Caramel, she said, releasing herself. Captain Equestria? Thought of that yourself? Caramel blushed slightly. He was really embarrassed. Spitfire thought with a mental chuckle. Yeah, mostly. I just thought, well, it was the Royal Guards who gave me this opportunity. I thought I should stand for something. Boy, a simple, guess. He chuckled uneasily. Pretty stupid, huh? Not at all, Spitfire said, trying not to laugh. I think it's pretty cool, actually. If there's one thing the Wonderbolts taught me, is that people in the colorful outfits can be a major inspiration to others. Thanks, Caramel said, sitting down on a cushion. You know, I've never actually seen the Wonderbolts perform. Maybe I should go one of these days. Oh, you totally should, Spitfire said, letting on a cushion next to him. I could get you tickets if you want. That will be very kind of you, but you shouldn't put yourself through any kind of trouble on my behalf, Caramel said silently. No trouble at all. Though there probably won't be any shows until Soren... Well, there won't be any shows for a few months. Spitfire felt a small stab of pain as she remembered what happened to her closest friend, but shoved it away. There was a half hour before the meeting started, and she got to spend time flirting with her new teammate. She had been a bit apprehensive working with a new team, but they were all sweet as Caramel that she had nothing to worry about. Caramel felt like he was dreaming, except he stubbed his hoof at the conference table and it hurt, so he definitely was awake. Still, his whole world had been turned upside down, and he kept nervously waiting for the other cosmic hoof to drop. Things couldn't get so good so quickly, could they? It was all just so surreal. He had taken a royal chariot, pulled by Pegasus guards, to a huge mansion that was even fancier than Miss Rarity's place. The servants had bowed to him and called him Captain Caramel. Captain Caramel! The promotion still made his head spin. Then he'd been led inside by a butler who was really nice, if a bit formal, and brought into the conference room. The room itself was pretty plain in comparison to the rest of the house. A soft carpeted floor, but a nice solid oak table. Very few plush-looking cushions to sit on, and just a few paintings on the walls. But it was still nicer than any house Caramel had ever been in. Then he met Spitfire, Firebird, who was a celebrity, and pretty nice, and actually flirting with him. He was so embarrassed by her attention that he kept blushing red, and his stutter was slowly returning. All in all, Caramel thought as he ate some of the chocolate that Spitfire was sharing with him, this had been the best day he ever had. It was better than becoming Captain Equestria, better than graduating from boot camp, better than that one time he won a stuffed Celestia doll for Luna's return, better than even the day he got his cutie mark. It almost seems like nothing could ruin his day. Of course, he was still Caramel. It wouldn't last. His luck matched Troubleshoes. About 10 minutes before the meeting was due to start, a pure white unicorn stallion with a dirty blonde mane walked into the room, a distracted look in his eyes. He had an unusually large build for a unicorn, though still smaller than Caramel, and he seemed to be thinking very hard about something. He completely ignored the other room's occupants, taking a seat on one of the cushions and muttering to himself. Caramel's enhanced senses picked up some mumblings about emitters, magical radiation, and other scientific mumble-jumble that Caramel couldn't hope to understand. Caramel and Spitfire shared a look at the unicorn's odd behavior. He hadn't even bothered to introduce himself. Caramel stepped forward and cleared his throat, hoping to get the pony's attention. He was ignored. Caramel tried again. Louder. Once again failed to get a reaction. Caramel was getting unnerved now. He tried one last time. Excuse me! The unicorn spared him a quite disgruntled glance. Ah, good, a servant. Listen, could you fetch me some paper and a quill? I need to write this down before I get... Caramel felt his face flush red, but with anger rather than embarrassment this time. He forgot to keep his voice under control as he told the absent-minded pony, "I'm not a servant." "Pardon?" The unicorn turned, actually focused on Caramel for the first time. "I'm not a servant," Caramel repeated, forcing himself to calm down. Why was he so angry? He never used to get angry. It's just that on the first day he finally felt like some pony. Being treated like a no pony all over again felt so offensive it felt as though he'd been slapped. "I'm a member of this new team. That's why you're here, isn't it?" "Oh!" The stallion's mind finally seemed to snap into focus. Yes, of course. This is my mansion, you see. I donated it to the princess to use as a team. But I'm not used to having other ponies here besides myself and the servants. Not to mention, well, you rarely see earth ponies in Canterlot unless they're servants. So, you're a mutant then?" All the earth ponies here were servants? The sheer offensive racism of that statement was so blatant that Caramel and Spitfire both winced. Caramel was fairly certain it wasn't even true, though there were a lot more unicorns here than any other type of pony. He doubted they dominated the city the way the stallion seemed to think. "I'm not a mutant," Caramel said, only his polite nature keeping him from growling. "I'll Canter Caramel. Who are you?" "I'm Prince Blueblood, the highest-ranking mortal member of the royal family," the stallion said, his eyes narrowing. Caramel suddenly felt all of his old nervousness return at the realization he was speaking to royalty. "So, if you're not a mutant, why are you here? What use is an underpowered earth pony?" Caramel's jaw dropped. Who was the stallion? Did he actually insult every pony he met? He casually noticed Spitfire stiffening in anger off to the side, but he barely paid attention. He opened his mouth and proceeded to do something he'd never done before. Yell at another pony. Dimly, he realized that yelling at royalty would end his dreamlike day rather abruptly, but he couldn't make himself care at the moment. Blueblood was having trouble focusing again. Of course, this was not a new experience for him. Before his mutation, he found focusing to be difficult, to say the least. That had been due mostly to the lack of interest in, well, anything really. Now he discovered he was having the opposite problem. He hit on a wonderful idea, a new invention, a groundbreaking equation, a revolutionary bit of technology, or spellcraft. His mind would go into overdrive, thinking of the possibilities, expanding on his idea, mentally working out the kinks of whatever theory he dreamed up. Then, suddenly, a new idea would interrupt his train of thought, throwing him off course as he suddenly forgot his first idea to pursue the new one. Needless to say, it was all very distracting. Ever since Rarity and he had assembled a lab for them to work within the mansion, Sweetbelle had returned to stay with her parents, leaving Rarity with more time to spend in Canterlot. Blueblood found himself rarely leaving the room. His end of the heavily reinforced chamber, where the one experiment had ended in explosions, was covered in papers and half-finished inventions. Right now, Blue was working on his latest idea, a calculating device, like a calculator, but 1,000 more times advanced. For now, a crude model using metal to conduct the magic would suffice, though the final model would be carefully sculpted crystals instead. If he was correct, he would create a device that could store, retrieve, correlate, edit, and interpret data. Such a device would be revolutionary. He was carefully letting the next bit of metal into place when Rarity entered the lab. He turned to her, smiling. "Oh, Rarity, have I missed lunch again?" He developed a habit of getting so entranced with his work. Concerns like food and sleep were easily forgotten. Rarity took it upon herself to remind him. "No, Blue. Today's the meeting with the new team, remember?" Rarity reminded him gently. Blueblood checked the special clock he had designed, one that displayed the time with holographic numerals hovering in the air, rather than the usual minute and hour hands. "The meeting isn't for nearly 2 hours yet. I'm in the middle of a very delicate experiment. I need to finish before I can even think of that sort of... Hey! Unhand me!" Blueblood was cut off as Rarity seized his tail with magic, dragging him from his desk. "You need the extra time to get cleaned up, dear. You haven't looked in the mirror lately, have you?" Rarity brought him to a polished metal surface. Blueblood gasped as he looked at his reflection. He hardly recognized himself. His mane was wild and unkempt, his coat filthy and rumpled, his hose were stained with oil. His hose had been cared for nearly a week for Celestia's sake. What a question came over him. Rarity was still bemoaning his appearance behind him. "Oh, your poor mane! What a disaster! Look at you, darling! You're an absolute mess! You really must get out of the lab more often. Normally, I recommend a full day at the spa, but you kept insisting that I let you keep working, and now we haven't nearly enough time." Rarity shook her head and sighed. "Oh, luckily you have me here. Don't you worry, Blue. I'll keep you looking at yourself in no time." Blueblood let himself be dragged from the lab and into the master bathroom, where several beauticians met him and had reactions to his appearance much like Rarity's. Rarity herself led the charge, shampooing his mane and brushing it with a vengeance. Blue let his mind to be clear, allowing himself to enjoy the treatment. He really needed to do this more often. It was so much easier to think when he was clean. He used to do this almost daily, but there was hardly any time.
Ooh, Miss Rarity, can I help? Of course, I'll.
It was an hour and a half later when Rarity finally proclaimed Blue Blood presentable. He put on one of his casual suits, which Rarity had kindly tailored to make the diamond in his chest all but invisible underneath it. He had other suits designed to show it off, of course, for when he wished to make it impressive. But Rarity had insisted on the humble approach. Not only would it be good practice, he explained, but if he was to work on a team with other ponies, he needed to make it clear he didn't concern himself about them. Blue Blood deemed this perfectly reasonable advice, and resolved to take it to heart. Unfortunately, that resolve had not lasted long. Blue Blood had entered the conference room, his mind buzzing with ideas again. Clean body, clean mind, his grandmother used to say. Blue Blood had to agree, and he found his thoughts much easier to keep track of now. So wrapped up was he in his thoughts, he hadn't noticed the other ponies in the room until they addressed him. Blue Blood glanced absently and saw an Earth pony. The higher reasoning functions of his brain being somewhat occupied, Blue Blood automatically assumed it to be a servant and requested some paper to write on. He had been mortified when a disgruntled revolt jolted him back to reality to notice that he had just inadvertently insulted one of his new teammates. His attempts to explain himself only seemed to irritate the other stallion, as it did the Pegasus mare hovering above him. An actual apology would have probably smoothed over, but a vestige of Blue's old pride would not allow an apology to pass his lips, especially towards an Earth pony. So, if you're not a mutant, then why are you here? What use is an unpowered Earth pony? The words left Blue Blood's mouth before he had a chance to think them through. Darn it! That was the old Blue Blood talking. He overstepped the line, he knew. He needed to apologize. Pride be damned! But he never had to say it. How dare you! The Earth pony snarled, shocking Blue Blood with his feminines. No pony dared to take that tone with a prince before. Thus, who in Equestria do you think you are, calling other ponies useless? If it wasn't for us Earth ponies, you unicorns and your fancy castles would all starve! He parted the guard angrily, glaring at Blue Blood. We build your homes, grow your food, and if you don't take that back right now, I'll show you just how useful an Earth pony can be! Indignant anger, wounded pride flooded Blue Blood's mind, blocking out his more rational thoughts. No pony spoke to a member of the royal family like that. No pony! His old nature took over, and the arrogance he thought he'd discard came back in a rush. I stand by what I said. An Earth pony cannot fly and cannot work magic. You have no mutation. You admitted so yourself. What could a powerless pony like you possibly contribute? Earth ponies are far better suited to the farming and labor. Leave the fighting to the ponies with power. Blake pony in a suit. Take that away what you got. Millionaire intelligent blue blood royalty member. Okay, that's it. Wanna go outside? Bring the suit? Go a few rounds? No. Come on. Put on the suit. Let's see who's better. Oh, I don't even need the suit. The other pony's face went a very interesting shade of red as he opened his mouth to reply, but never got the chance. Blue Blood! A familiar voice rang out, and Rarity burst into the room, looking quite beside herself with anger. Blue Blood's own anger and arrogance strayed away as he saw the look on her face. Oh dear, he overdone it, didn't he? Blue Blood! Rarity repeated, sounding for all the world like Blue Blood's old mother before she passed away. We talked about this. If you truly want to change, then you have to be kind and polite to every pony, not just the ones you like. But Blue Blood tried to interject, but Rarity wouldn't let him fizz. I don't want to hear any excuses. You apologize to Caramel right now. Even Celestia at the height of her power would have been a little frightened by Rarity's velocity. Blue Blood didn't stand a chance. After a few moments of being at the receiving end of Rarity's glare, Blue Blood's will broke, and he turned to Caramel. He took a deep breath and finally said, My deepest apologies, Mr. Captain Caramel. I will do my best to avoid such snap judgments in the future. Rarity turned her gaze on Caramel, but she needn't bother. The Earth Pony was already apologizing. Well, yeah, I said some things that weren't too nice either. I'm sorry for blowing up like that. Good! Rarity said with a satisfied grin. Nothing. Who's hungry? The kitchen has some very nice pastries for us to eat as we wait. Thor and Luna burst into the room, only discovered that everything was well in hoof. The argument they thought they heard was, in fact, a game of charades in progress. Rarity, Spitfire, and Caramel all sat together on a good percussions as Blue Blood performed, valiantly providing a probably poor imitation of a very famous pony. The group had been sounding their guesses among peals of laughter, from behind which thick doors of the conference room had sounded an awful lot like angry yells. Little's mouth curled in a grin at the sight. "I believe the answer you're looking for is my sister, Celestia," she told the group. "Am I right, nephew?"
Thank you.
Blueblood said when he was side.
I was starting to get worried that these dimwits would never catch on.
Though the insult was pure Blueblood arrogance, it was light and joking. It was more akin to the light-hearted jabs amongst good friends than an actual insult. "I don't know how that was supposed to look like Celestia," Spitfire humped gruffly. "I guess that means you win, Blue, since we have to start the meeting now." "Yes, I'm afraid so," Linda said with a smile. "Though it does my heart good to see you all getting along so well already. We have important matters to discuss." The group nodded, moving their cushions back to their positions around the table as Rarity gave her seat back to Blue. Luna stood at the table's head, while Thor himself seated at her right hoof. "The purpose of this meeting is primarily to introduce you all to each other, something I'm happy to see you've all done for yourselves, and to understand why you're all here," Luna began. "I believe you have all heard of Thor, who has agreed to act as team leader and official liaison with the throne. He shall take his orders directly from me, and pass them on to the rest of you. I expect you all to show him the respect he would show me or my sister."
Thor nodded at the rest of the table's occupants. Greetings, my friends. It's a pleasure to meet you all.
"The pleasure is all mine, Lord Thor," Prince Blueblood replied, lowering his head in respect. "I am Prince Blueblood of the Royal House of Blueblood, highest-ranking mortal member of the royal family. I am codenamed Iron Pony. For the suit of powdered armor I've devised myself, along with some help from my partner, Rarity." He gestured to the elegant mare who had just hovered behind him, and she bowed deeply. "It is an honor to meet you, Lord Thor," Rarity said, a voice positively oozing ice class. She may appear a convincing noble mare, Big thought privately. If he didn't know better, he thinks he was born in Canterlot.
I'm honored as well,
he said with a polite nod.
It's good to see you, Lord Blueblood. Lady Rarity.
He turned to Caramel, reminding himself he wasn't supposed to know him.
And who might you be?
Caramel snapped off a smart salute, showing enthusiasm Big Mac hadn't seen him with in a long time.
Captain Caramel of the Royal Equestrian Guard, sir! Codename Captain Equestria. I'm a hands-earth pony. Anything a normal earth pony can do, I can do. Well, bear.
He looked vaguely embarrassed at the statement, as if unused to being better than any pony.
I'll see. A great honor to have such a warrior with us, Captain.
Thor replied with his own salute. He turned to the team's final member.
And of course, the great Spitfire, Captain of the Wonderbolts. I already know of thee, and thy powers, Firebird.
Spitfire actually blitzed a bit. "I never thanked you for the other day, with the Hulk, so thanks. Thanks for catching me and for stopping me." She whispered the last part of her sentence, looked everywhere but at the room's other occupants, especially Caramel.
"'Twas my pleasure, Firebird,"
Thor responded, smiling for a moment before his expression turned serious.
"Today, my friends, we form something greater than any of this, even myself. We will become a team that will protect Equestria from all threats, from within and from without. For now, we shall focus on the most immediate threat of Loki. But, make no mistake, Equestria has changed drastically, and not all the changes were for the better. Even after Loki is defeated, Equestria will still need us. They have to shield against the threats this new world will pose. We shall right the wrongs that Loki has wrought upon our nation. We shall stand for justice and truth for all Equestria. I propose we be called the Avengers. For together, we shall take vengeance for the crimes against Equestria committed by Loki, and all those like him. United, we shall be the most powerful team of heroes Equestria has ever known.
"I have no objection," Liz said, her face unusually hard. Loki had taken the life of several of our ponies. Fences was most thoroughly sued.
"Sounds good to me,"
Caramel said with a nod. This was his chance to prove himself. To help not just the ponies of Ponyville, but every pony in all Equestria. "I like the sound of it," Spitfire agreed. A smile on her face disguised her pain as he remembered Soren still in his hospital bed. As long as she drew breath, that would never happen again.
"A most appropriate name, I think,"
Blueblood added. This was his opportunity. He would improve. He'd become a pony that, when next he lay on his deathbed, he could look back on without shame. He would.
"I'm glad that we all agree," Thor said with a smile. "Now, my friends, my close friend and ally, Pygmy Pie, is preparing us a party fit for heroes. She should be waiting for us downstairs. Shall we?"
Grip left the room, smiling and laughing all the way, except Spitfire. Excuse me, Princess?" Luna looked back to see a worried-looking Spitfire hovering in the air.
Yes, my little pony. What is it?
Well, it's just... Is Macintosh Apple here, ma'am? Pegasus Mare asked, uncharacteristically nervous. I just wanted to talk to him. The princess hesitated for a moment. She couldn't tell a direct lie, not to one of her subjects, but I was afraid Macintosh is quite busy with his responsibilities at the moment. If you like, I shall inform him you wish to speak to him when next I encounter him. Spitfire broke into a grin. Thanks a lot, your highness. I better get going before all the food's gone. She flew from her room, and Luna, chuckling, followed after as quickly as the decorum would allow. After all, as her first back on Equestria had taught her, Pinkie Pie's parties were not to be missed.